Welcome to Cancer season. Happy solar return to all you Cancers out there. And this is actually about all signs, but it's about this season astrologically. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Chariot Tarot card because it represents the sign Cancer. And I'm going to tell you why that is. On June 20th, we have the first day of Cancer. And of course, the summer solstice next week. And I do want to mention Jupiter. Jupiter is actually in Pisces, just went into Pisces about a month or so ago. And it's actually retrograding on June 20th a little bit. So it's like, I think it'll be the second degree of Pisces. And so it will be retrograding back into Aquarius, but it will be in Pisces for the most part this year. Thankfully, Pisces, Jupiter, gives you a lot of spiritual opportunity. The more you work with spirit, the more you meditate, the more you work with your dreams, the more you actually get in touch with your soul's purpose. Jupiter in Pisces, along with Cancer season, that means the sun is in Cancer, we have a lot going on in the signs of water, in the signs of emotion, in the signs of spirit and nurturing and all of those wonderful watery things. So this is a very sensitive time this month as we enter this Cancer season. It's going to be very sensitive, very emotional. So with Jupiter, Jupiter is a planet of expansion. It's a planet of excess. Jupiter is a planet of optimism and luck and opportunity as well. And when you have Jupiter going into a sign, when it's in a certain sign, it provides opportunity there. It provides luck. So you can see why I'm saying that, emotions are expanding because Pisces is very emotional. Also, spirituality, it provides opportunities there. So it's a great time to start meditating. So yeah, that's Jupiter in Pisces retrograding, which means reflection, time of like really reflecting on that sign. And wherever Jupiter sits in your chart personally, your house, it's going to be, affecting that, as in Jupiter transiting your house this year. But for those of you in my community and my membership, you can always jump into those lessons and learn about that. We have workshops all the time. But for those of you just watching YouTube, if you don't know about the house system, don't worry about that. Unless you really want to study astrology. The important thing for you to know is Jupiter's in Pisces right now. Great time for spiritual work, a great time to expand your spiritual evolution, your understanding of spirit, your connection with spirit. It's a very good spiritual time this month during this season. I do want to mention specifically that tapping into your dreams and tapping into your visions during meditation will provide extra opportunity at this time because of this Jupiter in Pisces retrograding. Excellent time for visions and opportunities and things coming from spirit messages. Next thing I want to mention is right after this, a couple of days after Mercury goes direct. Now, when Mercury goes direct at first, it's still in shadow. So there is still a little bit of that retrograde effect. But if you've been feeling like blocked with technology, communication, travel, all of those things, right? If things have been slowing you down, it'll finally be going direct, so we won't have so much of that. If you have a communication block or something like that, it will release once we hit, the end of June here. Thank goodness, right? I don't know about you, but it has been a really just a wild ride with this Mercury retrograde in Gemini, along with these eclipses that have been going on. Wow. And on June 24th, we have a full moon in Capricorn. And this will be sextiling Jupiter, which is a harmonious aspect. So this is a great time for social relationships, building new relationships, just, really getting closer to people in terms of like social situations, a great time of generosity, harmonious time for relationships, really. Also, it's a good time to expand your understanding, your education, to expand your area of travel in your life, possibly. So it's a really optimistic, harmonious time with this kind of wonderful aspect. June 25th, Neptune actually goes retrograde. And it's actually a good thing in a lot of ways because it's a great time to, really develop the inner light, to really get into self-discovery mode internally, to work on your inner truth, your inner spiritual evolution. So this goes along perfectly with Jupiter and Pisces. I mean, with Jupiter and Pisces, expansion in the realm of spirit, Pisces. And then we have Neptune retrograding at the same time. So this will be happening for quite some time this year. And so Neptune retrograding is a great time for meditation, reflection, expanding in spirit. So this year is a very good year for spiritual work in general. On June 27th, Venus enters Leo. Leo is a fiery sign. Leo rules the sun, and when Venus is there, Venus is our romantic sign. This is our planet, I should say. Venus is the planet of romance, expression, your truth. And so when these two mix up, it becomes a time of grand generosities. Sometimes we can overspend money, buy too many gifts for people, kind of give away things too much, be a little too optimistic. It's a great time for romance, a great time for generosity, but also it can be an unpredictable time, Venus and Leo. You never know what people are going to do sometimes. People can be a little dramatic, a little over-optimistic sometimes, or just that fire really gets people going, But it's also a very affectionate time. Venus in Leo is very affectionate. It's also very generous, like I was saying, but it can be a bit unpredictable and dramatic, okay? Now, to tame this energy, if you do feel it's a little bit too much, you can always use rose quartz. And rose quartz, you can actually place it in the south side of your room, in maybe your bedroom while you're sleeping, and that can actually help the energies. If you feel like they're a little bit too wild, a little bit too unpredictable, a little bit too crazy, rose quartz, wonderful energy for Venus in Leo. And then July 9th, we have the new moon in Cancer. New moons are all about setting new intentions for a new moon cycle. So for the next month after that, whatever intentions you set, whatever is going on July 9th, that's going to be really the theme of the month for you. And a good way to see what that theme is for you in your natal chart is to go to your astrological birth chart and look at where, this new moon is transiting in your chart, and you can see where it's going to play out in your life. And that would happen every year at this, during the same time. So new moon in Cancer happens every July. And so whatever your July is usually like, you can usually see the theme. And if you look at your chart, you can see it more clearly, right? You can see if it's in your house of relationships or your house of money or your house of career, wherever it might be sitting. But this is a good time for new intentions, and it's also a great time for nurturing energy, whatever that house is getting transited. You want to see, okay, where can I nurture more here? Where do I need to protect and create more security in this area of my life? Because that is the energy of Cancer. So let's talk more about Cancer and the path with the Chariot Tarot card. So how that plays in here and why that symbolizes Cancer. Okay, here we have a couple of examples of the tarot card called the Chariot. And on this side, I have the Radiant Rider-Waite deck. And on this side, I have the Golden Universal. So these are wonderful tarot decks, some of my favorite ones, because this is representing the true tarot. Okay, so I'm going to put these down, and I'm going to let the graphic pop up for you so you can see the card, and I'm going to talk about it now. The Chariot Tarot card is represented by the number 7, victory. It's also represented by path 18 on the tree of life. And that path is called Cheth, sometimes pronounced Cheth. And this path means fence or field. And fence, it means protection, right? So this is a card of victory, and it's a card of the Cancer protection, all right? So let's talk a little bit more about what this means. So Cancer the crab, right? We always say that Cancer is represented by the symbol of the crab. And that's because the crab has a hard shell and a soft center. Just like the Chariot card represents here, it's about this protection, this armor, and this internal person on the inside. So here we have the king, right? The king is in the chariot, and the king is moving between the spheres of Geburah and Binah. And Geburah and Binah are, this is like crossing the abyss. All right, the abyss is, you can say it's the deep unconscious, it's the place between spirit and earth, right? But he's crossing, if he goes up the tree of life, he goes from Geburah, which is ruled by Mars and activity, right? If he moves up into the world of Binah, Binah is the archetypal world. It's a world of formation. That is where spirit resides. And so if it's coming from Binah down into Geburah, it's coming from the archetypal world of the other side, from spirit, the Holy Spirit, down into the physical world. It's like this cycle of reincarnation. Okay, and as we are going through that cycle, we have shells. We have these sheaths, these bodies. We have physical body, we have the emotional body, the mental body, the astral body, etheric body, right? All of these bodies, they house us. Now, if you look at the Chariot card, you can see the buildings in the back area there. They represent a few different things, but think about it this way. Your bodies are your house. They're like your temple, right? So you can see a lot of form on this Chariot Tarot card, a lot of squares, a lot of buildings, a lot of houses. Even the chariot is very square-like, and you can see the square on the shield, the armory on his chest, right? That symbolizes Saturn. Saturn is limitation, right? Saturn is formation. It actually rules Binah, formation. And so with Saturn provides those sheaths. Saturn provides the limitations of the earth. Okay, so this is a card about formation, about the protection of the shells, the the whole the whole idea that we have these bodies that sheathe and shell the inner nature of the inner light. So the inner light would be our soul, right? And so this Cancer, it represents the crab of, on the inside is this soft soul, this malleable soul of consciousness, and on the outside is the shell and protection. And you see the charioteer, it's like it's moving, it's mobile, but it's in rest right now. The number 7 also symbolizes rest and spirit, right? And victory, and through stillness, and through also forming and controlling the thoughts and the mind, right? The consciousness. We create speech that is external, and we also create speech that is internal by forming it, right? We create form with language. Okay, so this is formation. We're forming language over our consciousness, over our ideas and our feelings. We're creating thoughts, we're creating ideas and stuff. And so when we learn how to control the speech internally and the speech externally, it provides you a lot of power in life, right? So through meditation, through connection with divine, we learn how to quiet the mind, to create this more receptive nature and become open to our own true divine will of the soul. So receptivity is a big part of this card. It is on the pillar of receptivity, the pillar of the goddess energy, which is the yin energy, the feminine energy, reception. And so this is teaching you that the path to spirit or into physical manifestation and having power and victory in your life, either way, when you learn to really be receptive to the divine consciousness, and to learn to control the mind and control the thoughts and control the speech, things start flowing in the right way. Divine will comes through. A lot of people that are, uninitiated into spirit, right? they think that, magic and all of this stuff is about, it's all about us using our will, right? They think of the ego, the will in terms of the lower self. But in reality, what we're doing is we're learning to be receptive to the divine will that comes through. And that's what this card is signifying. It's showing, it's symbolizing that we are able to move in action, move into, awakening, or move down into control of our life through control of our mind and becoming receptive and open to God or source, whatever you want to call it. It's about this mixture of microcosm and macrocosm. In fact, if you have the Thoth Tarot deck, I'll put that up here, the Thoth card for the Chariot. It says abracadabra at the top, right? And Aleister Crowley made this deck. Abracadabra, it means a couple of things. First of all, in numerology, it's number 11, which is magic. It means magic. And it also is, if you think about it, number 5 and number 6. When you really break it down, if you want to read more about that, you can look up his book on the Thoth deck. But 5 and 6 are, 5 symbolizes man, the microcosm, and 6 represents God, the macrocosm. And so we have the hexagram, which is 6, and the pentagram, which is 5. And when you overlay them, you have an 11-pointed star, which symbolizes, magic, and symbolizes this whole idea of us coming into a new age of magic and people being more open to the ideas in the age of Horus, the age of, thought and new age, spirituality, instead of what we had before was it was a whole about the Messiah and about the resurrection of the Messiah, the God, and so that was in a lot of the mythology before, whereas now it's changing from Osiris, which was then, to now Horus, which is now. So that's a little bit about Thoth. I won't really go more into it than that right now. For those of you in the membership, I'm going to talk more about this in our workshop this week, and that replay will be posted if you can't make it live. I'll also be doing a meditation on the path for you all as well. So let's talk about the next symbol here, the Sphinxes. The original tarot was actually horses, and those horses were about movement. But the Sphinxes, these are representing the 2 pillars on the tree of life, the severity and mercy. And then the center sits the king. And the king is the way of the mystic. Because if you look at Keter at the top of the tree of life, Keter is representing God, source, and true ascension back to union with the divine. And so the king is representing that middle pillar, and at the top he wears the crown of Keter, which means crown. And and beside him you have the pillars, the 2 sphinxes. I won't go into it more than that, but you can also see the moons on his shoulders. And that's the waxing and the waning moons, which shows his connection to the High Priestess card. Also, the water behind him represents the High Priestess energy flowing through, because the water of divinity, this is actually the card of the child of the waters of manifestation. And so he is the water, he is the child in the water. He is the king in the middle pillar. He is the mystic. He is the part of yourself that is evolving and awakening to God consciousness. Okay, so this card, when you're reading it in, let's say you're reading it in a tarot spread or something, this card represents victory, accomplishment. It represents success through effort and through movement, and also reception and opening to divine will and knowing your right path by meditating and doing the great work. If you look at some of the tarot cards, you'll even see that they showed the great work within the card. You can see it a little bit here. It's really showing, a lot about the tree of life and a lot of the connection to Jupiter, which is exalted in Cancer. It shows a lot of connection to the Hesed, which is number 4. You can see the 4 columns, right? And there's actually 4 in a few of these different cards. You'll see like on the disc, on the wing, on the disc that he's holding in the Thoth card. He has like 4 of the things that are attached on the side. It represents Hesed, and Hesed is structure, formation. It's also mercy, divinity, and in a way that is compassion. So this card has symbols all over it, right? There's a lot more I could talk about here, but just know that it's really about you becoming victorious through these ideas of, you know, controlling your mind, becoming receptive, opening to spirit, and living your true divine will of spirit. Because, you know, with astrology and all of this stuff, I mean, we have free will, but in a way it is limited, okay? It's limited, and you can see this card is showing a lot of limitation, a lot of, you know, squares, a lot of like formation, and that's coming from our divine will, right? So that's why you have to really start meditating, and you have to get in touch with yourself so that you know, what is the best way for me to go? What is the best, life for me to live so that I can live my best and happiest life? And divine will is driving that. So, this is a great season for reflection on this card. It's an excellent season to think about your path to awakening, your path to your next reincarnations. Are you living your true will? Are you being receptive? Are you being open to your real, true soul purpose? And meditation is so important for that. If you missed my video last week or 2 weeks ago when I was talking about meditation, make sure you watch that, because it is so important for you to be meditating, especially with all this water energy that we have going on. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.